Ooh, that would have been bad. Oh no, I'm not ready.
Oh well,
Oh,
be
no.
it. Episode 107 of Table Talk. I am Mo. She, of course, is ready. She is Lindsay. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about today's show.
You got some messages on the board behind you?
I do. I have, well, first of all, wait, this way. I have welcome Maven.
Yeah.
See
You'd
that?
make a bad meteorologist.
Thank you. And over here, it's going to be raining. And then we have Devon get well soon.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
You may have noticed that Devon looks a little bit better than he usually does. That's because that's not Devon.
Oh, it's not? I was saying surgery. What kind of surgery did you have?
Felt really bad last week after I called him out for wearing a t-shirt.
That's a pretty low bar you're giving me if it's, you look better than Devon. That's a very, very low bar you're giving me.
That's true. But thank you so much for filling in this week and the next couple of weeks, Maven. I know I'm looking forward to it. You and I have already been having fun going back and forth with the text. Right. So I can only imagine what the show is going to bring us today.
Oh yeah, it's definitely my pleasure. And Devon, if you're able to watch, get well soon. We all care about you, and we have your best interest, obviously top of mind.
Yeah, if you follow Devon at Testify Devon on the socials, he did give us an update. He had a back surgery yesterday. He's very happy with how everything went, but the rehab begins now. So he'll be joining us again in a couple weeks' time. With that said, though, let's get right to our guest who's hanging backstage, back at the show, back after it. After 99 episodes away, we had him on episode 8 before we were even on video. We called him Curt back then. Now we call him the one and only BRIAN MYER. BRIAN, welcome.
What's up, everybody? Hello.
Hello.
What's up, BRIAN? How you doing, buddy?
Oh, hey, Maven.
Mo, hold on. All right. So when I have to say, last week I gave tribute to Devon and to D-Lo for helping me, when I got into the business. I have to give equal amount of love, respect, and just my all to this man, because he has been single-handedly responsible for keeping me relevant after my wrestling career ended.
It's your fault. You're too damn charming, man. What do you want me to
do? If that's the case, then I hope it still keeps rubbing off on you. He single-handedly pulled me off the scrap heap, said, come do some work with me about 6-7 years ago. And it hasn't stopped. And he's a great guy. The first guy I thought of when you told me to help, get some people for the show. And I could not be happier to have anyone on this show more than I have BRIAN.
Well, I'm sure Batista hasn't returned your call since 2004. So who else are you gonna pick?
Yeah, it's probably earlier than that, to be honest with you.
Last time we had you on the show, Devon went through the WWE promotional machine to get you on the show, and you were doing all right there. You're part of that big losing streak at the time, but it is great seeing that you were able to leave the company, and you look like you're having a blast now, doing whatever, wherever, whenever you want.
Yeah, completely my own boss and living my best life through pro wrestling. So I don't have a complaint in the world, man. And my loving family that I'm home to, during the week, and then on the weekends, I go play pro wrestler. It's pretty unbelievable, actually. It's bizarre in this pandemic. Getting fired. It was like, oh shit, got fired. What now? But it was truly was a blessing in disguise kind of thing. So it all worked out.
Yeah, very much so. You and Matt definitely taking over everything outside of WWE, which is great. Here I am being called out already by BRIAN, wanting to know how many of your figures I have behind me rather. Which behind me, 0. But I do have one of your figures. I do have the Curt Hawkins Elite figure that came out 2 years ago.
Yes, nice.
Very nice.
I do appreciate you being a collector as well. What's your favorite one behind you right now?
So this is my Hasbro Wall. These are all every single one of these is autographed.
Whew.
So that's been my little passion project. I think there's 80 something Hasbros that we grew up on, and a lot of those guys have passed on. But it's something that I think I'll be collecting the rest of my life. It's fun, people slide into my messages and say, "I got a Warrior, I got this or that," and wheeling and dealing and cutting deals. Or if I'm I'm going to WrestleCon next month, and I'm like, okay, Honky Tonk's going to be there. I need that. You know, I'm you know, it's a cool thing for me to like look forward to and collect. And the Hasbro's for me, it's just people my age are. It literally was like the gateway to my pro wrestling fandom. You know what I mean? I found wrestling and I found these toys pretty much at the same time. So they hold a very special, sentimental, you know, spot for me in my heart. So
Brian, is that what the big rubber action figures was?
Those are
childhood.
Those are LJNs from your childhood.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I remember I used to have they were enormous. They were this big. I had the ring, everything, and they were impossible to. You know, when you're a kid and you want to play with them, they're more of a weapon than a toy.
We actually found out those were an accident. They were supposed to be half the size, and then in the first meeting they showed them the prototype, which was double the size because that's just the way they used to like scale toys back then. And then whoever saw it was like, "These are cool as hell, all right." And then they got left the meeting like, "Oh shit, they want them to be that big." That's how LJNs came to be, like, you know, because GI Joes are so little. That's like what they're competing with. And they made these giant rubber wrestling figures, but it really made them like timeless, you know?
Well, G.I. Joes were yay size. He-Man were about double that. And then those LJNs were double that.
Yeah, so I think it should have been like a He-Man sized guy in actuality, but it was like a little happy accident.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I could talk toys all day, which you do, but I don't normally get to
I literally do this for a living, yeah. So
yeah. With that said, I do have a question from Daniel here. Was it worth doing all those jobs to have an action figure collection worth so much, and are they insured?
I'm in the process of getting them insured. It's on my to-do list because it has gotten to that point where it's like would be absolutely irreplaceable if something were to happen. You know, people are getting a lot of questions about the losing streak. The losing streak, people are like, I can't believe WWE did that to you. I was like, it was all my idea. I asked to like pursue it because I thought there was something to being the losing streak guy than just being, you know, anonymous white guy that wins and loses sometimes. I don't know. I thought there was just something there and a gut feeling I had, and it all worked out. And then kind of to what his question, I never made more money in my career doing that. And I never had more fun because I took like the politics out of wrestling. You know, people show up to Monday Night Raw and they're like, "Oh, is this going to be the night I get a big push, or am I going to get a win?" And I'm like, "I know I'm losing." I'm like, "What's your finish?" I'll take it the best I can. Like, you know, it's like cool. It's like all those cares just gone. It was just, and I just embraced the fun of it.
Al Snow used to wear the shirt, "Pin me, pay me."
Yep.
That's basically what was going on. But it was like my legit job.
Daniel actually has a follow-up question, which is really good. Do you and Matt have a stipulation that if one of you unexpectedly expires, does the other get all the figures?
Like each other's collections?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we would have to. My collection is impressive. His is.
In case of impending doom,
his is
what
from another
happens
world.
to your?
I would like to think that our families or significant others would get that because it's not a couple of bucks at this point anymore. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, you said you got a lot of them signed within the industry, because I know some industries are different. And this, Maven, you could attest to this as well. When you're a fan of somebody in the industry and you're in the industry, are you allowed to kind of to fanboy out, geek out, or do you got to play it cool? Like, how does that work?
So I think that's something that Matt and I have like flipped on its head from yesteryear. You know, like we bonded over that we collected wrestling figures early on in our careers, but it was like our little dark secret. We wouldn't tell anybody that, you know. It was like but the success of the podcast has really been that like we've come out of our toy collecting closets and like just bared everything, just showed it, like just talked about how nerdy we are and the things, and you know, childhood memories and modern day memories and stuff like that, which would have been absolutely blasted for, you know, when I got called up in 2007, you think I could sit in the locker room and be like, "Hey, Hardcore Holly, I just picked up your action figure." He beat the shit out of me, you know, like, so that it wasn't as accepted. And I think a lot of guys from that time period have a hard time accepting that or understanding that, because when I grew up, there's these Hasbro. I'm 5 years old. There's these Hasbros. There's video games. There's bed sheets. Like, wrestling was so romanticized and childlike for me. Whereas like someone who's like 10 years older than me, what did they grow up with? Maybe a black and white wrestling magazine. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
the fandom reached a new level. And I think a lot of those old timers had a hard time understanding that until now.
Okay.
And I think the internet helped that. You know, the internet helped everyone find their niche, you know, no matter what it is. and you realize that, you know, if I like something, there's got to be someone else out there that likes it as well. And I'll tell you what, I've done several of their live shows, and you know, Mo Lindsey, you're not going to find any show that has more hype, more excitement, a better time, or a true audience just enjoying what's going on. And to go back to what Brian's saying, and I won't be Devon here. I won't take 45 minutes for this story.
Oh, please.
But to echo what he was saying, when I first came up, I remember the very first time I met Scott Hall, I started marking out for him ever so slightly for 13 seconds, and he stopped me immediately. And that was the last time that ever happened with anyone. And he stopped me in a I don't want to say a rude way, but you know, enough of this shit, kid. Stop it. You know, to where you immediately learn this isn't what's gonna the way the politics are handled in backstage.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
And who was your favorite growing up? And did you lose it the first time you met them, Brian?
Yeah, it's funny. Like I was with WWE for so many years, and so many like big time celebrities would be backstage, and like I don't care. And then it's like I mark out for these wrestlers that are there. You know, my first favorites had to be the Rockers and like Ultimate Warrior, just because they like, you know, the colors and they just jumped off the screen.
The energy, yeah.
But as I got like older and I think a little bit smarter to what wrestling was, I was really into Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels as a singles wrestler, guys like that.
Okay. Was there anybody that was difficult to walk up to and ask for their autograph?
Like in this run that I've been on?
Yeah.
Not really. A lot of them. I also have like guys. Like I know like vendors. Like I have Lex Luger in next week, and I'll just give them my figure to get done. So I don't have to really do it, you know, personally. Right. One of my favorites is I also, so anyone knows me knows I'm a diehard ECW fanboy, and I have all the original ECW action figures signed by everybody, every single one, all 40 something. Damn. I think it's the only collection like that in the world. And Maven really popped for this. But like my first time in WWE, I started that collection, and I would go to like indies to like hang out or whatever. But I didn't want. This was before this was all out there, so I wouldn't want to be like, hey, I want this figure signed. So I'd have people do it. But I'd be overseeing it. So one show I had a Rhino figure, and I made our buddy Raleigh go get it done. And Raleigh is like this 7-foot, like stereotypical New Yorker. He fucking talks like this or whatever. And he went up to Rhino, and I'm watching from a distance at this like rec center, and I see them, and you know, you can just see someone having a conversation. Their body language is not good, because now like this big ass dude's asking Rhino for his autograph. It's probably worse than me just saying, "Hey, I'm Curt Hawkins, can I have your autograph?" You know, it's before I knew Rhino, and then like I could see they're going back and forth through, and he goes, "Who should I make this out to?" He's like, "Oh no, don't fucking personalize it. I don't like that." And then they're going back and forth. He's like, "Oh, should I just make this out to eBay then?" And then they started like screaming at each other. And then he comes back. Raleigh comes back. He gets it signed. He goes, "Oh, you fuck! Here you go. Here's your fucking doll. You almost made me fight Rhino over this."
Last time he helped you.
Yeah.
What about you, Maven? Is there anybody that you had to get a picture with, an autograph from in your career?
I mean, the Rock. Obviously, when I was a school teacher, before I got into wrestling, I had an entire wall on my behind my desk, and it said The Rock says, and it had all of his different pictures and moves, and my students used to bring just different stuff, and I would put it on this wall. And his book The Rock Says came out while I was teaching, and before Tough Enough, and one of my students gave that to me. So I think the first time I met him and was hey, can you mind if I take a picture? Hold on, let me get my disposable camera.
he was still on the roster when he came up.
Oh yeah,
no,
he
crazy.
ribbed me. The very first time I met him, he ribbed me. I show up at Raw, and I go backstage, and it was you'll love this, Brian. I didn't have a roller bag. I had a duffel bag. They cut they cut the straps off to it, so I had to carry it through the airport like this.
Oh man, that's a good rib though.
It is. And Taz was like, "Get yourself a fucking roller." But I arrive at the show at Raw, And immediately, Rock comes up to me. And this is, right after Tough Enough. I'm talking weeks after it ended. And I'm like, hey, Maven, nice to meet you. He's like, hey, what's up, man? Dwayne, nice to meet you, kid. And I was like, it's a pleasure to meet you. He comes up to me 30 seconds later. What'd you say your name was? I'm like, it's Maven. 5 minutes later, what was your name again? It's Maven. He did that 7 times throughout the day, and every time I reintroduced myself. And then like at the end of the night, he was like, "Hey, dipshit, I watched the show. I know who you are." But it was just I mean, I don't want to say surreal because at the end of the day, he's a human being too. But it was just, I think meeting him was probably the coolest thing.
I thought maybe he would mistake you for the coach, Jonathan Coach.
That's true.
Hey, it's the coach. But you know what was the coolest thing that's happened to me with somebody marking out? I go up at WrestleMania 18 to introduce myself to Hogan. And I mean, Hulk Hogan. He stops me, says, can you take a picture with my son, Nick? He's a big fan of yours. And at the time, Nick was 11, watch Tough Enough. And I'm thinking, your dad's Hulk Hogan, but yeah, I'll take a picture with him. But think about it, to an 11-year-old, I guess, he was into, the Tough Enough show. So that was, the probably the coolest thing that I was able to do.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. And speaking of ribs and pranks, what was one of the best ones that you've either pulled or have had pulled on you, Brian?
Ribs have kind of like fallen to the wayside later on in my career. Yeah.
Is that good or bad?
I think both. I think I one of the things I love about wrestling is the camaraderie, the friendships and the camaraderie. So I think there is a place for it. I think like old school, like malicious ribs, not so much, ones that are, pretty nasty in mind. I think the harmless, funny ones are kind of where they're at. A couple times in developmental, what guys would kind of misplace or disrespect their titles, and then we would take them and then take Shawn Michaels Playgirl pics, like from the nipples down, so you don't know who it is, but it's just like the belt covering my junk, and send it to him, basically be like, we have this, but you don't know where it is. Some stuff like that, harmless stuff like that.
Okay, all right.
One night, when I was riding with Al, I took his rental car. I told him I was going to go out and grab some food, and he had ribbed me. He got me really, really good. And to get him back, I was like, "Give me your keys. I want to take the rental car." I took it 2 hotels down and hid it behind dumpsters. Walked back to his hotel, knocked on his door, and I was like, "Good luck finding the car before your 6 a.m. flight."
No.
He called me 3 hours later. He's like, "I give up. Just tell me where it is."
I feel like you kind of rib yourself with that rib, because he's gonna have to.
I mean, at that point, I was committed to staying up, but I knew he wasn't sleeping. So,
So you guys have both seen the industry back from the Attitude Era on. What do you guys think are the biggest differences backstage, locker room, just how really the industry itself runs?
I think just how accessible everybody is now with social media and things like that. I say this all the time. Like, if I was a kid and I wanted to tell one of the bushwhackers that he fucking sucks or something, the lengths I would have to go to get that done, right? Get really good tickets. Hopefully he comes by the rail and hears me and sees me. Now if somebody just wants to tell me I fucking suck, they can tweet me and I'm going to see it within 2 hours, or less. So it's just that part's a little different, But there's also aspects of that I enjoy, like not pulling the wool over the fans' eyes anymore, and just kind of being like, hey, we portray these characters just like anyone else in a movie, and just enjoy wrestling for what it is as entertainment, and don't you can take it seriously, but not to the point where you really think that I'm some dastardly dipshit because I play one on Impact Wrestling or whatever. I kind of enjoy that they could be like, okay, this is a nice family man who's passionate about pro wrestling and then does a good job at his job because it's his job. I kind of dig that I don't have to be like, I would hate if I was, it was the 50s and I did a broken neck angle and I came home in a neck brace and worked my wife and kids and shit. I think that's really passe.
Or the ECW story where the Sandman was blinded.
Blind. Yeah, and he just basically just gets out of chores around his house for a week. Yeah, that's bullshit.
Doesn't even go outside to get the mail.
Yeah.
My favorite was when Steamboat had to learn to relearn to talk.
Yeah.
E.
Brutal.
All right, and this is a good question related to the camaraderie with this new generation of wrestlers. You seem to be closer than past generations. Would you say that statement's correct, or is it hard to compare? Is it different camaraderie than maybe the Attitude Era stars or prior?
I think a lot of that is if you're in the indies and you guys are broke, and you're coming up together, you're in the trenches in that sense, and then likewise, if you're like in developmental and you're doing all those things together, you kind of build a strong friendship that way too. So because a lot of my best friends in the business are guys that I was in developmental with, and that experienced those unbelievable experiences, and you're not making any kind of significant money and you're still a nobody, it's just a different time period. So those friends have like really stuck with me throughout my career.
And it's generational because I guarantee you those really old timers, they're still friends with the guys that they worked with. I am still friends with the Mark Jendraks, the Easy Money. I still talk to Easy Money, all the old WCW name for you, all the time, and it's just the guys like Brian says that you cut your teeth with. Those are the people that,
and those are all HWA guys.
They are
exactly,
and
exactly,
exactly. So those are the guys that even once your career like me is winding down, I when I see the new school guys out there, it's not like I'm meeting these guys and like, hey man, start texting me, man, let's hang out, let's go. Not so much. But my guys, like I said with Jindrak, I talk to Jindrak several times a week. But I came up with Jindrak, so yeah.
Definitely seeing a boom of wrestling excitement right now. A lot of opportunities out there. Of course, Brian, you're with Impact right now, but there's a lot of options right now. For the longest time, WWE was really the only decent paying gig out there, but now there's so many options. Is this going to continue, or is this bubble going to burst sooner than later?
I think we're on the up and up in that sense. I think there's just wrestling fans are excited. I think coming out of the pandemic, they're excited to support and like go to these shows. And I think with AEW being so successful, it's the first time in a long time that there's a real 1 and 2, which makes a big difference, I think. So I've been enjoying it. Like I'm a straight up free agent. I just have like a verbal agreement with Impact and all the places I work, and it's been incredible. It's been so much fun, and literally like I'm my own boss. Like I said, that's kind of like at the end of the day, like a priceless kind of thing in pro wrestling. I can do and go where I want when I want, and does that really feel
surreal? I'm sorry to interrupt. Does that feel surreal because you were in the WWE system, and again, for the longest time, that really seemed to be the only, unless you wanted to go overseas or cross country lines regularly, it seemed like it was the only place. Did you ever find yourself frustrated in WWE? They're like, where the hell am I going to go?
Yeah, I mean, that's what WWE, was the past, 20 years or so, right? I mean, when I got fired the first time, all I thought about was got to get back, and I did. And this time it hasn't even crossed my mind once. I don't even know the amount of money they could offer me to even consider it with everything that I have going on, especially the podcast, obviously, but
yeah,
it's just not worth it, because then WWE is a great place and you can make a lot of money and legacy, but you can't put a price on being your own boss, or because you're doing what you want to do when you want to do it. It's just because once you're in WWE, you're in it, and they control a lot of aspects of your life.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, there's something to be said for sleeping in your own bed most every night, and there really is. Like it's being on the road. I mean, Stone Cold, when he came to the Tough Enough house, he said to us that eventually they don't pay me to wrestle, they pay me to travel. And
yes, for sure.
And I couldn't believe that at the time, because I still had no clue how to put a 5-minute match together without having every spot called. But eventually you do. You get paid to travel. The wrestling becomes the easy part, the fun part. And the work is the getting to the airports, the renting the cars, the getting the hotels situated, the trying to train, trying to stay in somewhat decent shape. And then not be a dick when you're out at IHOP and somebody from the show comes by and wants 5 seconds of your time.
I have to say, as I get older, that stuff is the hardest. Like, I can't sit in a car for 4 hours anymore. It just kills me, my body. It's weird. It's like worse than the bumps. I think because I'm just so used to that and like calcified and whatever. But man, especially now that for the most part, I'll fly and do Impact, or I'll fly and do whatever indie or whatever show I'm doing, and there's no car traveling involved in it. Like the rare occasion I do have to drive in a car, I'm like just the biggest wuss ever. It's like crazy. It's just, it's pathetic. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. This is a good question from Joseph. Do you think wrestling will eventually get to a place where the independent contractor status is a thing of the past?
I mean, this has just been to the end of time we've been talking about this. I mean, obviously the wrestlers would love that, but realistically making it happen, I don't know how that's ever going to happen. Because guys in WWE making $5 million aren't going to be so quick to fight for that.
Give that up.
I mean,
nope.
Nope. And that's just the way it goes. In any company where you're making good money. So
I mean,
it would be nice. I mean, as I will say, health insurance is one thing that would be great for pro wrestlers for sure. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, never say never, but in order for that to happen, in order to unionize, the top, what people that ask me that question don't realize, the top earners have to be willing to sacrifice for the betterment of the lowest earners on the thing. And like Brian said, that's never going to happen. Not ever.
That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. I related to you being the free agent, any wrestling companies you still want to work at or for?
I love AEW, especially because they've signed a lot of my students, and I've never missed an episode. I mean, it's on right now, and I'll watch it on DVR as soon as we're done. I think I would love to have even if it's just one match there at some point. I would love to do that, bucket list thing. But I'm not in any rush to do that or make that happen. But for what it's done, AEW's changed the business, I feel like, and it's allowed my students some pretty incredible opportunities. So for that, I'll always support it and be happy for what they've done.
Wait a minute, hold on, Brian. This is coming across like you're this like battled vet, the hardened, wrestling from the past. No, you're not. Let me tell you, this guy still wrestles at the highest of levels. I mean, like, he still goes out there and puts on one hell of a show. And like, seriously, Brian's forgotten more about wrestling than I ever learned. And to this day will go out every time I see him, puts on an amazing show. I literally think you're limited by your own limitations. I guarantee you, if you wanted to work for any company, you could. Probably with one phone call, but this what you have right now is pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie, it's a sweet gig.
Like I said, I don't have a complaint in the world, man.
Yeah.
That is outstanding there. So another question from Brian here. Heard stories that wrestlers used to sleep at fans' houses to save money. You guys ever do that or consider it?
No, and that's like old cheap ass McFoley shit I would never do. So, no. I don't think those are those things. Like a good meal and a nice hotel room are like the things that you can't sacrifice on the road. You can sacrifice other things, but if you start sacrificing food and where you stay, you're going to be miserable. So it's not worth it.
And the moment that you have to be, because when you're around fans, you have to be on. And that's what you want to get away from when you're on the road, because the minute you can just turn it all off and just be yourself and not have to act, because if you're staying at a fan's house, the questions aren't going to stop.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Like trying to go to bed. Just one more question.
Yeah. So what was it like when you were in the ring with
in the shower? Hey, I know you're in the shower, but
watching you while you're sleeping.
That's like when I'm doing like a real life thing or something, or attending something for my daughter. My wife's always, why do you never I never just flat out say I'm a wrestler, because I just don't want to deal with the questions. Because if they're a fan, a million questions. If they're not a fan, a million questions. They're just different questions. Yeah. And it's just like, it's just such an odd way to make a living. It just, it intrigues people, I guess. So it's just like, something I try to avoid at least. You know, if I can.
Don't you love the question? Does it hurt? No, it feels great. Yeah, it feels great.
Yeah.
I can fake gravity, better than anyone, and that doesn't hurt at all. Yeah.
Well, who outside of wrestling would you be excited to meet? Maybe you put yourself in the fan role. Who are you going to ask a million questions of if you ever met the person?
Mike Piazza is my favorite baseball player growing up. I would love to get a nice photo with him, meet him. I'd love to. I'm a big Jets fan. I would love to get a photo with Joe Namath, at some time.
Would you ask him if it hurt? If football hurt?
No, I know that. I played in high school. I know.
Yeah. All right. We need Devon on for this conversation because you might be the 2 Jets fans remaining out there.
Oh man, yeah, it's not easy. Trust me,
Brian. I didn't know this. I had no clue you were a Jets. I'm actually buddies with Wayne Corbett, like for a shoot.
So Wayne Corbett was like my favorite Jet growing up, and I did a personal appearance with WWE like 4 years ago, and I met him. I got a really cool picture and stuff.
Yeah, I've been out at his house. He lives out in Colts Neck. Not too far. Yeah, he got another one who experienced the concussions and everything, and probably living a tough life now though.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you a Mets fan then? I mean, between the Mets and the Jets, are you hurting right now?
The Mets are on the up and up. I'm just more like butthurt that there's no baseball with this lockout, and I don't see it ending anytime soon. And this is the time of year where I get all fired up, and everybody's undefeated, and I love all the transactions and hot stove stuff, and it's just there's nothing to even think about. It's just dead.
Do you have a side that you've sided with, the owners versus the players, or no?
I don't give a fuck. Just get it done. I don't care. Just end it, right? I am pumped about the universal DH because the Mets have been built for a team to have a DH for a while now, so that benefits them. And then I also just think I used to be such a purist, but like it's gotten to the point where it's just not even fair anymore. Like whatever, let's move on.
Yeah. You see it every year. You see it during the World Series.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just because he's not here, I'll have to say it on his behalf. Shut up, Byron. I mean, that Devon said every single week to this guy. So, yeah, I have to do that. What about you, Maven? Who would you be excited outside of wrestling to meet?
Probably political figures, to be honest with you. I'm big into politics. I'm the guy. Yeah, I'm the guy that when I get home at night, I stretch. That's my routine. I eat and take my dogs out, and then I stretch for about an hour, just to try to keep my back in some working order. And while I do it, I watch, political shows. And
you want to meet Brodus Clay? I can hook you up.
You know what? I can have some questions.
You kind of do look like Cory Booker a little bit.
Everybody tells me that.
Yeah.
When I'm walking through the city or walking in Hoboken with a suit on, I'll hear Cory Booker.
Wow.
So
I mean, I think he and Rosario just broke up, didn't they? I don't know what your relationship status is, but she's single, man.
Wow.
Well, I might have to get an Instagram just for that. You're like, hey, I know you think guys like me are attractive. I know that. But listen, the one thing about that this business does, and I think Brian will agree, is you learn that everybody, no matter what they do, they're a person. And if you like I used to tell people when they would ask me, I'd be like, I just have a cool job. That's it. It's and like he says, when people ask you questions that sometimes when they don't know you're a wrestler, those questions are way weirder than the ones of because the question I get, what's the Undertaker like?
I will say this though, with wrestling, it's like if you meet someone that was your hero and then they exceed your expectations and are so cool, it's pretty unbelievable. I've had a couple of those experiences in my career where you idolize someone, then you become friends with them.
There's a flip side to that coin,
and then the flip side is a real dark side of like Jesus, the unreal letdown. But I've experienced both in my career plenty of times. So
absolutely. Well,
it's the worst when you meet someone that you've idolized and you just loved them for so long, and they're a dick. Yeah. And you're just like, God, that's just it's almost disheartening to the point to where I tell anyone that listens, don't idolize anyone, because you might catch somebody on a bad day.
That too. That's not fair, right? Yeah.
I've heard that a lot. Lindsay and I, some of our background includes Comic-Con and working for the different companies. She was more of a manager / agent for a lot of the stars, working as a handler, and I got to work on stage with a lot of the different stars. And it's absolutely true about you never know who you're going to catch on a good day or who you're going to catch on a bad day. Sure. And I like where your head's at. Although they did tell me right away, starting at Comic-Con, don't meet your heroes. You know, if there's somebody you really, really love, do not work their panel, do not request to work their booth.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's good advice, but I never listen to that.
It's amazing how the comedy and the wrestling career lines up. So, I mean, both are in hotels, both are, you know, performing each and every night. It's just, there's a lot of similarities that go with both careers. Obviously, one, you know, physical, and but then again, the other one, you got to go out there and mentally, you know, put it out each and every night. So
for sure, yeah.
And how much longer do you got this drive in you there, Brian? Are you going to be like Sting and just go, or Ric Flair and go forever? Or?
So I used to like. It's weird how the business has really changed since I even broke in, because I used to think like, by the time I'm 30, I'll be like the guy in like edge tights at like New Jersey Indies, like, you know, hey brother, tie up with me. But that's like completely gone. And like lately, and I've been saying this a lot, like guys like Chris Jericho and Dustin Rhodes are like my inspiration. Like,
oh yeah,
you know, there's no. It's like I'm in charge of this. You know, I guess there's like, you know, unfortunate things that could happen to me that could halt my career. But as long as I take care of myself, and you know, keep having great gear, and you know, taking care of my body and things like that, you know, the things that I can control, like really I can go till whenever. So that's my current goal. I have 2 young daughters, and I've already decided that I want them to both at least remember me actively wrestling, which if I stopped today, I don't think they would, because they're 4.5 and 1.5. I want them to have vivid memories and experiences of me wrestling. So I got a long ways to go. I would like to stop actively like at 50 years old. Right now is the goal.
Okay, that makes sense. If your kids one day walk up to you and say, I want to be a pro wrestler, are you going to encourage that, or are you going to be like, no, kid?
I think females in the business have an incredible opportunity right now, and it just seems to be growing. You know, I think 15 years ago, I'd be like, I don't really think you need to be doing bikini contests and a live event or whatever the hell. But it's changed so much that I would love to help them pursue that. You know, if that was something they were into. I mean, I being a part of the WWE this last run, like, it's so different, because I've been on shows where Alexa Bliss and Sasha Banks are getting equal reactions to the top male performers, and on top of that, they're moving merch as well. So it's like, it's really become a thing that I would encourage any young girl to pursue if that's what they wanted.
Absolutely. I know we gotta let you go here. We've taken enough of your time, but Byron wants to know the name of your podcast again, where to find it, where to find you online. Give us all that info.
Oh man, both my social media handles is Myers_wrestling. I have the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast under the Major Podcast Network banner. We do it all. It drops every Friday, wherever you get podcasts. Give us a listen. It's not just about toys. You know, we kind of are all over the place. It's kind of a variety show around wrestling figures, but it's been just a complete blessing and the most fun thing ever. It's really taken off. We do live shows. We have a Patreon, you know, fan group where we all interact in this Facebook, and there's exclusive content, all that good stuff. It's kind of never ending. So once you dig into it, you'll fall down the rabbit hole and see what we're all about. But it's what really, at the end of the day, it's fun. It's just fun stuff. It keeps me remembering and reminding myself why I got involved in this in the first place, you know.
That's awesome.
And check out their YouTube page.
Some people don't even know about the podcast. They think we're just YouTubers because we put up vlogs. Matt and I will vlog, you know, our trips on the road and wrestling shows. We'll vlog going to toy stores and things like that. So people come up here all the time. They only think we're YouTubers.
I lost 2.5 hours to that one night. I literally pulled up to check one video out. I'm 2.5 hours later, I was still watching, because it's very entertaining.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
Well, Brian, we appreciate it. Maybe
Thanks,
we'll have
Brian.
you back in 98 episodes this time.
Oh, wow. Let's do it.
Yeah.
We'll see you
Thank
then.
you so much. Appreciate your time again, man.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, buddy. Hey, what I tell you, man, he's just the nicest, the truly salt of the earth guy. If wrestling was full of nothing but him, then the business there would be no blemishes on the business. You hear bad stories about it. If it was just him, you would never have that. He's that good of a guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember talking to him in episode 8. Just Yvonne and I talking to him, and it was a good time. He's real down to earth and good people, and very surprised with the weird questions that we asked him. But that's what we do. We have odd ones here and there, and we're getting some love from Maven in here. Billy, we found your one fan, Maven. Said,
there he is.
Oh, there he is.
We'd love to see him do a Rumble appearance one year.
You know what? It's as funny as it is. That's the one thing. Obviously, people always remember that my Undertaker Rumble appearance. If all they'd have to do is call me before they would get it out of their mouth. Hey, we got the Rumble coming up. Would you like? Yes. That's like I would literally jump on it that fast. And if they gave me enough time, I would start trying to get in good shape again. I would do it in a heartbeat. I would absolutely do it in a heartbeat.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then another one, Sean here has a comment. Met you at the Prairie Capital Convention Center years ago. Great guy. Signed his all-white Fila coat, and he still has it.
Oh, well, wow. I love meeting fans. It's the one thing that to this day I still can't believe I have. Like, occasionally I'll be out in the grocery store or whatever, and somebody will stop me and they'll be like, "You're Maven the wrestler?" And I'm like, "Yes, I am. Yes." And it blows my mind. I still remember the very first person that ever recognized me. You'll love this, Mo. It was in a Blockbuster video.
Yes,
Blockbuster.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What were you looking for? Do you remember what you were hoping to rent that day?
Yeah, I don't remember that. I do remember it was like probably a week after the very first Tough Enough show aired.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, it was almost immediate. I mean, but then at the height of my career, I mean, I lived in a pretty small town. I lived in Harrisonburg, Virginia, where James Madison University is, and it's a college town, but I became like the big, celebrity in the town. And it was cool. I literally got pulled over one morning, true story, by a cop. And he's pulling me over and I'm like, shit, what was I doing? And he comes up and he just wanted an autograph. And I was like, that's it?
Wow.
You really? You're not giving me a ticket? I'll sign whatever.
What you need? I'll sign it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Now on Table Talk here, we do talk about the shows that we're watching, the movies that we're watching quite often. Pop culture, big thing for us.
Ozark.
You're busy.
Just got done with it.
All right.
Just got done with it. Oh my gosh. Biggest Jason. I love anything Jason Bateman. Jason Bateman could read the dictionary and I'd listen to it. But I love this show. I absolutely love it. Just finished it, probably a couple days ago. All the episodes. I won't give a spoiler or anything out. What are you guys into?
Well, Ozark, watched that, as soon as that came out that weekend when Netflix released the first part of the final season here. I love that one.
Well, wait a minute, hold up. Is that the final season? They said that there's more to come, or is they doing was that 4A?
Half of the final season.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So there'll be more for that for sure. But I love how that one character is absolutely losing it in that final episode. Somebody's gonna die.
Yeah, somebody doesn't matter how it gets done, it's going to get done. And you could see that like the entire from episode 1, season 1, that this character had it in them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You knew it the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Absolutely. It's almost like an origin story for this character rather than Jason Bateman's. But what about you, Lindsay? What are you watching?
Well, I finished Ozark as well, but I'm watching actually Mo's recommendation, The Boys. It's on Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Yeah. Good one.
Crazy.
Yeah. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I love Homelander.
Yeah, I know, man.
He's such a good heel. He's such a good heel.
Crazy person. Yeah.
Yeah. I just today I got an advanced screener so I can watch The Boys has a cartoon spinoff debuting in March. What? And I just got the advance pass for it. So I might start doing that this weekend. Start watching
wow.
this little boys cartoon. Little boys. That sounds bad,
The
but you
Little
know what
Boys
I mean.
does.
cartoon. I don't
Yeah,
know if
that
I would.
does.
Ugh, I don't know if I'd admit that.
Yeah, that's
If there-
probably better.
Are we allowed to put podcasts that we listen to out there?
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely,
Yeah. I listen to. There's a podcast a buddy of mine turned me on to probably 3 years ago. It's called Crime and Sports.
Okay.
It's with a comedian named James Petrogala. I knew nothing about it. I listened to one, and now I listen to everyone. He does a deep dive, and you'll think like O.J. Simpson. He did 3 hours on O.J. Simpson and talked about the Bronco chase and the Nicole Brown Simpson and Rod
Sure,
Goldman
yeah.
for 5 minutes. He does a deep dive, and I'm talking on everything. And you find out so much about these athletes. He only does athletes, and it's all the crimes that they've committed. And he does it. He's a comedian, and he does it in a very funny, tactful way. It's one of my ones that I won't miss. Crime and Sports.
Okay, that's awesome.
Awesome.
There,
And he's a big wrestling fan. He's done a lot of wrestlers. He's done Sonny. Oh my God, he just did the King, Jerry the King Lawler.
Okay.
And yeah, but again, don't go into this like thinking loving somebody, because you will not love them as soon as you get done listening to it.
So how far away are you from committing a crime just to be featured on this show?
But my goal, actually, is to reverse that, flip that coin over. My goal is to live a life so pure that I'm never on this show the way he gets into it. Because I'm telling you, he does a deep dive, and it starts off where you're learning about these people's lives. And it's so funny. He has a theory that juniors, like if you're a junior, that's never a good thing. And if you always have a white old man around, a white-haired old man around you, that's never a good thing, because that person's making money off of you. And he's like Vince McMahon, the whitest hair old man. And it's just he's so funny the way he gets into it. But I mean, he's done athletes before that I had no clue had a past. And then he just starts going into some of the stuff and some of them are petty shit. Like he did a Charles Barkley episode, and most of his crimes are funny. Like it's Charles Barkley. It's literally Charles going out at 4 a.m. to get a prostitute, and he gets pulled over because he gets a DUI.
Didn't he beat up one fan or got into a fight with the fan?
Yeah, exactly. And then when they interview Charles, he makes it funny, So, but some athletes, like you literally, who did he do? He did a couple wrestlers. Like I could not believe, just the amount of stuff that happened to Sonny. And this is even pre, the legal problem she just had recently. It's astounding, and I've met this girl, and she could not have been nicer. But yeah, and it's a good show.
Awesome.
Cool.
And what about musically? What are you listening to?
Oh my God! You know what? That's the one thing where my age is showing. If I listen to the radio right now for 5 minutes, I could not.
Engelbert Humperdinck.
the Ray Conniff Singers.
What?
If I listen to the radio for 5, I'm not kidding. I will watch somebody, or I still use Shazam, and and I'm like, who is this? And it'll be somebody that's literally on the radio. But I don't listen to the radio. If I get in my car to go somewhere, I'm putting a podcast on. Or if I'm riding the train to go to work, I'm putting a podcast on. I literally don't listen to music at all.
Okay. All right. Well,
that's my age coming out in me.
All right. So did you like that halftime show then?
I did. Well, that was you're talking about my high school generation.
That's mine too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're talking that was my high school and college years, right there, rolled into one.
Yeah. It was. My daughter was just like, I'm just like, yeah.
I saw. Just got that question about Super Bowl halftime show. Yep.
I saw it was funny. I saw a bunch of TikToks of your kids posting that.
Yeah.
Their parents, they're just like, oh my gosh, what is this? Yeah.
That's the same thing we did when we were kids. You'd be like, oh, the Who? Oh,
I know.
And now, of course, I have a better respect for them later in life. But as a kid,
yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
Oh my God.
All in Oates? What? No, I'm not listening to that.
So old. Whatever.
Exactly.
Snoop Dogg Who? Martha
I
Stewart's
loved it.
friend. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anything. Snoop can make anything cool. I would
So
watch
funny.
literally anything he does. When he does Plizanet,
Yeah, I was gonna say
Plizanet
narrate.
Earth. Oh
Planet
my
Earth.
gosh.
That's
That's
the
the funniest stuff. I'm literally like belly laughing and tearing coming
Yeah.
out of my eyes listening to him.
It's
Yeah,
hilarious.
we got Brian trolling me here saying Mo loves country radio host. I hate country. Can't
Oh,
stand country at all.
you don't love it?
I
thought you
am
did.
a producer for a rock show in Atlanta, so I love my rock and I pay way too much
Right.
attention to music, but just can't do the country thing. Just can't do it.
Yeah.
Mo, surprisingly, I grew up in country music. I grew up in the sticks of Virginia.
What's that? Wait, your audio dropped. What was that? No, I'm
Oh,
kidding. I'm
can
just
you hear me?
screwing with you.
I was like, no.
Yeah, that was me being sick. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
And you know what I was thinking? My earbuds. I was like, I
Yeah.
didn't charge them enough. My mom listened to George Strait, and somehow it stuck. And to this day, I will still listen to country music.
I'll try not to
Yeah.
hold that against you. That's all right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have listen. Good music's good music. I have a great affinity for anything that's talent. That's talent.
I agree.
You know?
Good music is good
Yeah.
music, and then there's country. No, I was married previously, and to a fellow radio person, and she and I were both born and raised in Ohio, and
Okay.
we were both doing country. We're living like equidistant between jobs. We both had an hour and a half drive to get to work every day, just so we could both work. We both got sick of it, so we're like, okay, we're going to look for other jobs. And I got a bite for like nights at a rock station at Tulsa, Oklahoma, but she got a better bite in Albuquerque, New Mexico to be a morning show co-host. So I put my full-time career on pause to support hers so she could have a really good opportunity. And she was kind enough to negotiate with the stations and say, hey, Mo is also on the air. Can we at least hire him part-time so he doesn't have that gap in his resume? They're like, yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, he's got a good experience. So I get there, and I'm a rocker, top to bottom, and they have a rock station. Good fit. I'm only going to be on the weekends anyway, so I'm not going to take anybody's spot. The boss is like, I don't know about that. He goes, you may be a rocker, but you got a voice for a country station.
Oh.
So for the next 2 years, I was put on a country station.
2 years?
2 years.
Little less than 2 years.
2 years.
And it was hell for me. It was
and none of it. Hold up. All right. So you're saying there was never once that a song came on that you're like, this isn't bad. I kind of like this. Not one time.
No, well,
he's like, no.
In all fairness to country or any music, in the industry, you start tuning out the music if you're not talking. I mean, there are times that it's background noise. You pay just enough attention to know when it's about to end.
Right. Yeah.
So there was that, which is really funny how this all worked out is finally after 2 years on this station, the boss pulls me in the office and he goes, you know what? You're right. You're better for a rock station than a country station.
After 2 years, they figured
we're going to move you over to the rock station. I'm like, yes, finally. And then literally a week later, he got fired, the boss. And then 2 months after that, both the wife and I were fired. There was a part of 2,000 cuts nationally. It was Clear Channel at the time, iHeartMedia. We were both part of round 2, as it's called. And round 1. So I'd never made it onto that rock station.
You never got one airing?
I never got one airing.
Oh, man.
Oh, my goodness.
Just known as that country guy.
Yeah. And right now, there's somebody in their double wide right now praying that your voice comes back on the air. They were like, we loved his voice so much.
Every time I hear country music, I think of that Mo's voice.
Yeah. You're somebody's childhood.
Yeah.
You really think about that.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, man.
I was the one that was like talking about like some of these like Trace Adkins or something had like his own baseball cards, like his own collectible card. So I'm talking about that on the air because I'm trying to find anything I care about.
It's funny how we have Brian on. You see all the figures and stuff he has. I have 2 action figures of mine. That's it. And you want to know how I got them? He gave them to me.
Oh,
I have none. Jack Specific sent me 50 of them when they came out, and I gave them to kids or whatever, like I don't care. I gave like my dog was carrying one, around its mouth for a while. And I don't know. It's so funny how I understand his love for that. I just don't have it. I could care less. Like I
can tell your walls are boring.
They are.
Is that a hotel? What is that?
Yeah. I rent a hotel every week for this. I was more excited at the fact that my name made the Urban Dictionary than having an action figure. Like if that tells you anything.
That's pretty cool.
What is your definition?
My name Maven in Yiddish means expert. That used to be my that was my first homework assignment in both the years I taught school. I would tell my kids, go find out what my name means. And they'd come in the next day, oh, Mr. Huffman, it means expert. But on the Urban Dictionary definition, so it's that, and then I'm definition 3, and I don't know, it says something like a super fly drop kick machine, the man has no limits. And it's not, and I didn't write it. And it's not because I put it out there.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was more excited about that than having an action figure.
That's fair. Fair.
I mean, I get that.
Yeah, it's but to each their own. To each their own.
Okay, I can absolutely see that. That's fun. That's a good story there. Although the figures not getting your own, I guess everybody's different. Like for me, that's my end game. If I can actually get like a legit action figure of Mo Lightning, I'll be on cloud 9. Like that's my big thing right there.
The guy you had on earlier is the guy that can get it done.
I know. I haven't talked. I don't know him as well as you do to get that ball rolling yet. But
right.
Maybe one day after he crashes at my place and I watch him sleep, we can change.
Yeah. Ask him questions when he's in the shower.
We've had
and you tap him. Brian, one more question.
Yeah, one more. We had Kofi Kingston on the show, and I didn't get a chance to ask him about it. I talked to him through the radio years ago, and one of my all-time favorite stories I've ever heard from any sports entertainer wrestler is the time that he got busted buying himself at a Toys R Us.
I completely feel for him. I actually, when my action figure came out, went to Target, and because I knew they had them, my buddy told me, and I took all of them off the shelves. And I took 5 of them up, and I'm like, the woman scanning, and I'm thinking she's gonna do one of these and be like, nah, she could care less. So finally, I pointed it out. Hey, look, that's me. Nah, Dan could not care less.
Gonna pay with their debit card?
Yeah, could not. Yeah, exactly. You just cash or charge.
Right.
Yeah, so there's so many stories that I've heard about this. Rob Schamberger is kind of like the WWE painter. He's the WWE artist. He's been working with them for years. And a couple of years ago, in the action figures, they started inserting some of his artwork in it. So if you bought a Curt Hawkins figure, then there's going to be a little Curt Hawkins painting inside. And I thought that was pretty cool. And I was the first guy that he knew personally, and he and I are friends. Right. First guy that he knew that actually found it in stores. So I thought it was cool that I found one of his pieces before anybody else. Right. But his I think it was his mom, not his mother-in-law. I think it was his mom was looking around. No, it was his mom, a mother-in-law, was looking around a Walmart and was trying to find these figures with her son-in-law's artwork in it. And so she picks up one of a wrestler, a random guy, and she walks up to another guy in the aisle, says, hey, I don't know much about this stuff. I'm trying to figure out, is this one of the figures with the Rob Schamberger art? And there's a sticker on it. And it says, right. So he points it out. He goes, yeah, that's one of the figures of his artwork. And she goes, oh, you kind of look like the guy in this box. Completely at random, she was at a Walmart with Bray Wyatt.
No way.
What?
Yeah, and she had picked up a Bray Wyatt figure and asked him, is this the right figure?
Like that's when you know the universe is just all lining up perfectly. Because like that's not how things work for me. Whenever I get too high and mighty on myself, God has a way of knocking me back down real quick. Real quick.
You're doing this show right now.
Wait a minute.
Poor guy.
Wait just 1 minute.
Do you collect anything though? So it may not be yourself, but do you collect anything?
Nothing. I'm a minimalist. I want as few objects as humanly possible. I'm the guy that I'll throw away anything if it's just to get rid of it. just
So
to get
you
rid
would
of it.
hate my place then.
Well,
The
no.
whole place is like this.
All right, here's the deal. I could respect that if it's just that room. If that's the whole house, yeah, I would hate it.
Oh yeah, the whole house, baby.
Oh
Oh yeah. There's even shit hanging in the bathroom. I mean, like, no room is untouched in my place.
I cannot stand like when you go into somebody's house and you see that they're not a hoarder per se, but they're like they're hoarder adjacent, and
Like
they're
cluttered.
just cluttered,
Yeah.
and it's just like shit everywhere, and it's like,
Yeah.
are you really gonna read the Sports Illustrated from 1994? Like seriously, now you're gonna get to it one day. No, you're not.
Maybe.
No,
You
you're
don't
not.
know. You don't know.
Yeah,
me.
well,
You don't know me.
How dare you?
I am not a collector of anything.
Well,
Nothing.
if you don't want your figures anymore, if you could sign them and give them to me, I'll put them on the wall and I'll put them behind
There
me.
you go.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
No, it's funny. My girl, she tells me, she's like, these two you're not allowed to sell. You're not allowed to get rid of. You're not allowed to give to kids. She's like, you got to keep at least two of them. And so I'm making sure nothing happens to these.
I agree with her there. I mean, did you have shirts during your run?
I think I had one post Survivor Series. That post Survivor Series right before when I started doing stuff with Simon Dean. I think I had one shirt back then, but they gave it to me. I cut the sleeves off, went out, wore it out in the ring, and I never got any other ones.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Like they gave me like the hardcore title. They gave it to me, like a replica of it when I won it. I gave it to a buddy who it literally means more to him. Like his house looks like yours, and he's like a big time. He collects sports memorabilia and everything.
Great guy.
He's an asshole, and he hung it up on his.
That's quite possible too.
But he hung it up on his wall, and at my house, it was literally sitting in a corner for no one to enjoy. So I have no problem. Like
is there
as long as somebody enjoys the stuff? Is
there any exception you can think of? Like a Jason Bateman movie prop opens up, and you're like, oh, I need this.
No, nothing.
Nothing.
There's nothing I need. Nothing I need. Nothing. Like
no,
keep
your
giving me
artist, Hall & Oates gives you a platinum record. You would turn that down.
At eBay. I would be like, let's see how much I can get this on eBay.
All right.
I used to have two ring aprons hanging in my garage that were pretty cool. And it was actually from the Raw is War. Remember those ring aprons? Okay, so right after 9/11, when they immediately could not air Raw is War anymore, they took those down and rolled them up, put them in a box, and took them to tracks where we trained for Tough Enough. And me and Josh Matthews found them and took a couple and went immediately to the post office and mailed them to ourselves so we could have them. And you know what? If there's anything that I did treasure, it might be that. Just because I don't care who you are or how big of a wrestling fan you are, it's going to be hard to get a Raw is War ring apron. That'd be tough.
That's true.
So,
that's very true. Lindsay, what about you? What would be your big item that you had to have for your collection? Anything?
I don't even know. A guitar from a cool band. I don't know.
Name a cool band.
I don't know.
George Strait.
No.
George Strait.
Well, that's a guy. That's not a
George the band.
George
Strait.
Trace Atkins.
Band.
Little Big Town.
Yeah. No. I don't
eBay that. eBay that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My goal is to find a country song that you like. I'm just going to start sending you songs. What about this one? How about this one, Mo?
And eventually, I'm just going to start ignoring your notifications. God damn it,
I thought you already did that, unless it was show day.
Oh no! I feel like you'll send me as many country songs as I send Exorcist memes to Devon. Because he hates the Exorcist.
Yeah. Hates it. Does he still watch Rocky 3 every other day?
No, not as often. He's got kids now. I don't think he's allowed to.
Yeah. Well, listen, Devon's been. He's had kids as long as He's a baby factory. He's been literally pumping out kids as long as I've known him.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. He's got young kids to get.
Baby
Gotcha. Yeah, he had young kids when I was on the road.
He's always had young kids.
Yeah. If the world ever needs to be repopulated, Devon's the man to do it.
I'm
Devon is definitely the guy to do it. He would love it.
He would the job too. He
would
love
just
that,
just sign me up.
I'm honored. Yeah.
Especially with the back now going to be feeling better here in a couple of weeks' time. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. Snow
Watch out, virility is back. Yeah. Anything else we need to cover before we wrap this up here? I'm having a blast, but we got next week to do as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. You're making me think that I'm not living my best life now. But by next week, I will have I don't want to say a collection, but I'll have a hobby of some sort. How about that?
Okay. All right.
I'll have something that I find that means something to me that I want to hold on to.
Okay. That's good. That's a good thing. And I'll tell you now, if you play an original country song, I would feel guilty if I didn't like it. I would be
You're not going to like it.
Where I had to support you.
You're not going to. Yeah, no, you still wouldn't like it. You still wouldn't like it.
No, but I would lie to you though.
Okay, as long as you lie to me, then that's all that matters.
Yeah, I would be like, oh, it's great. You know what? You turned my mind around on country music.
Look at that.
Yeah. You remember that? I like it now.
You know what? I like it.
That's how that would work. Would you like to tell us who we got on the show next week?
Yeah, absolutely. We have Mark Jindrak is going to be on the show next week, and we Mark and we're in a group chat with an old ex-NFL player, and he's actually the coach now for the University of Colorado. His name's Phil McGagan. Coached in the NFL for years, and he's just with the Super Bowl just ending and stuff. This guy he's very entertaining, and he'll be a wealth of knowledge if anybody has any football questions. I know you guys were saying
let's lean
maybe. Yeah,
I'll be the one that doesn't know anything asking those questions.
Yeah, and you know what, Lindsay, he'll be perfectly fine with answering them from you. I promise you that.
Yeah, I ask those questions, he'll be pissed. You ask those questions.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
He'll be fine.
All right,
but Jindrak doesn't, he's doesn't do much of these, and I talked him into it. It was actually a very easy sell, to be honest with you. And I mean, I don't know if you know what Jindrak was a big name and still is in Mexico after his WWE run. So I look forward to bringing him.
Originally in the Batista role in Evolution.
That's another thing that I look forward to getting into next week.
Yeah.
Yes, they actually made vignettes, so go look them up on YouTube. You can find them.
So we may talk to who could have been the original Drax the Destroyer in the Marvel Universe next week. I mean,
that's the only alternate universe I see that would have came from it.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Absolutely.
To me. Absolutely. All right. So on behalf of Lindsay and the suggested name of Mavius Rucker. I'm Mo. And once again, we wish Devon the best. He'll be back in a couple of weeks' time. And if you have seen our At Wrestling audio socials, you'll know that we have Gabriel Iglesias Fluffy on the hook for a future show. So good times are coming.
It'll be fun.